Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey everyone! As my intro just said, this is Chad Ikes. As you probably know, I missed, 2 or 3 weeks of podcasts. I've been really inconsistent lately. So I wanted to start this podcast by talking about that a little bit. I've been mentioning through my social media and stuff that I'm going through a move, and I've been trying to get my house ready to sell, been trying to get prices on a new facility and having something built and jumping into that while, of course, trying to keep my health in check. And something had to give somewhere, and it's a means to an end. So the podcast had to take a little bit of a hit. I haven't been posting quite as much on social media, just been focusing on keeping up with my in-person clients, my online clients, and then trying to get all this other stuff taken care of. Now, I think this is a great lesson, though, so I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. Over the past, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I decided that I didn't want to live just to maintain my living. I didn't want to, live to pay a mortgage. I wanted to do something more with my life and life in general. And I didn't want to live to pay bills. So I started downsizing and kind of controlling my spending more and going, hey, I don't need to have all the most expensive stuff in order to have fun. Like, I can have a great life without having these huge expenses and costs of living, because I'm a pretty simple guy. So I've been working on that, and right now my life is actually pretty comfortable. And I could keep going just like I'm going. I don't kill myself working. I'm able to live and adjust my sleep, which helps me keep control of my depression and suicidal stuff. And I'm doing good. Like, everything's good. But I felt like I needed a challenge, and I needed a change, and I needed to push myself outside my comfort zone a little bit more. And ever since I was a kid, I've had this idea of even before barn dominiums were popular, I had the idea of a barn dominium. And I'm like, man, I'd really like to expand the gym. I'd really like to have a little podcast studio where I film this. This is basically, I took over a big chunk of my kitchen to do this. And as you can see, my background wall's white. I finally finished the remodel I was doing on my kitchen so that somebody new can move in here and enjoy it. But I've always had that dream, and I thought, you know what? I have the opportunity right now to figure out how to make this work. And it's not going to be easy by any means, and I've already found that what I had in my head isn't going to quite be possible just yet. So I had to make some modifications to, instead of building the huge building I figured I would never fill up, I'm going to have to downsize and go, here, what's important? What's important is the gym. What's important is the podcast studio. I don't need much to live, so my living space doesn't have to be crazy by any means. But I'm making adjustments to that dream, and the land that I bought, I can build another building later if I have to for some of the other stuff that I wanted to do. But the idea is to get the move in, go. And so part of what I wanted to talk to you tonight is that idea of, it's really easy for us to be lazy in this world. It's really easy for us to avoid change. But in those states, we really don't grow as well as we can. My life's pretty easy right now, and I continue to grow as a person, but I spend a lot of time thinking about things. I spend time in meditation. I spend time just contemplating things. I do a lot of research on different stuff. And I'm always trying to grow as a person. I analyze myself. I look at, hey, how are my communication skills with my clients? Am I getting the point across? Could I be doing that better? So I'm always progressing, but I think that that can't be matched with making a big change in your life, with taking a chance, with scaring yourself a little bit. I saw a clip of this free climber the other day, free rock climber, and these guys do crazy, crazy stuff without being attached to a rope. Like if they fall, that's bad things are going to happen or death. And he was talking about, he goes, I was in the airport the other day and these people are worried about all these things and they're all stressed out. And he's like, I think if you put your life on the line or you take big chances, it helps you see that most of the things you complain about really aren't that big a deal. So that's why I'm starting this process. But I think people need to do that. I think we need to take chances. And we need to put ourselves out there. And we need to go to uncomfortable places. You don't have to do this all the time. It doesn't have to be a daily thing. But I think every now and then it's good for you. And right now, for me, this is a good opportunity to take that chance, to learn some new skills, to put myself out there, to go, listen, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but you know what? I'm going to do it. And that's exactly how I approach powerlifting. When I started, I don't know. I got kind of forced into my first competition from a couple guys that ended up being friends. And then I remember when I did my first 1,000-pound squat, I went, I'm going to do 1,000 and I'm going to do it drug-free. And everybody's like, what? How are you going to do that? You can't do that. Nobody can do that. That's impossible. And I go, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how long it's going to take. But I just made that my goal, so I'm going to achieve it. And I just started and figured it out as I went. Here's my goal. This is my long-term goal. I want to do this. Okay, what do I have to do next week? Let's figure out what I got to do next week, and then we'll just keep learning and expanding and keep changing all towards that goal. So that's the process I'm in now. Okay, I'm doing this. I had a bunch of headaches getting the land. But I stuck it out and I said, this is it. This is the lot I picked. This is what I want. I'm going to make this happen. Took a lot longer than it should have. A lot of headache, a lot of pain in the ass, but I got the land. Okay, now let's figure out this building. So we're in the getting quotes and permits and checking all this stuff out, costing more than I thought. So, okay, well, let's renegotiate on a building and how much is it going to cost to put it up and just everything's changing, but the main goal is here's where I want to be. When I'm there, I want to have this much living space. I want to have this much space for the gym. And I want a podcast studio because I want to grow the podcast. I want to write a book. I want to increase my online clients, but only to the point that I can do a good job because I don't need a lot. And the whole idea is to get in here and not have a huge, complete, crazy overhead, but have a manageable life where I can work, make a difference in people's lives, be a positive part of the world, and have a little bit of fun. That's the main goal. I think a lot of people get stuck in regular life and doing these regular things, and then they surround themselves with other people that are just doing that. And nobody wants to take a chance. Nobody wants to step out there. Nobody wants to put their goals out there because then if I put my goal out there, then what are people going to say if I don't make it? Who gives a shit? Just put it out there. Just say, here's what I'm doing. And if you don't like it and you can't back it up and you can't get behind me on that, then don't be around me. And so it's also a good way to weed out the people that really give a shit about you or not. But I think there's times in lives where you got to throw your cards on the table. For me, powerlifting was one of those times. That was like, hey, I'm going to give a certain number of years of my life to this sport, and I'm going to go all in 100%. I'm not going to hide it from anybody. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to throw my cards on the table, and I'm going to go for it. And in the end, either I made it or I didn't, but I'm going to learn a whole hell of a lot about myself. And to be honest with you, my original goal was I want the all-time total. I didn't make that. I made it to like number 2 in the rankings, and I put up the 4th highest total of all time. So technically, I didn't make what my goal was. But you know what? I had a whole lot of fun. I learned a whole lot about myself, and I'm a whole lot better a person these days. And I'm still putting up goals, and I'm still trying to get better, and I'm still trying to improve. Now it's not so much as physical strength. It's more mental strength, and how many people can I reach? How many people can I help through gaining strength, through getting healthy, through dealing with their mental capacity. And basically I just want to help people be successful in whatever the success they choose is. Now, going into that, I talk about the issues that I have. I talk about the things I am up against. I'm finding that there are parts of society who see that as complaining, who see that as a bad thing, where you should never say, I guess for those people, they don't want to hear that you have any problems or anything went wrong, or like just shut the hell up, do it, and that's the end of it. Well, that's fine if that works for you, but for a lot of people it doesn't. And to me, if I just ignored what problems I have, or I never talked about them, or I never paid attention to them, I would have never been successful. The reasons I was successful is because I went, hey, here's an issue. I sleep like shit. I don't recover well. I cannot train like everyone else is training because I don't sleep like everyone else is sleeping. And for whatever reason, that makes me more susceptible to these mental issues, to this suicidal stuff. If I don't recognize these problems, then I'm not going to beat them. Never once in my life have I said, oh, I don't sleep good, so I can't do that. I went, man, I sleep like shit and it really sucks. Okay, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to get where I want despite this? So to me, that's not complaining. That's stating a fact. This is what I have. This is what I deal with. Here's how I get around it. Everyone knows that has followed me or listened to me knows I had some really close suicidal issues. I had some very bad, serious depression. I still became one of the best powerlifters in the world. Never did that stop me from achieving my goals. But I needed to change my training. I needed to train in a different way. I needed to train with a lot of intelligence and not just do what I felt like doing, but do what I needed to do. So when I'm talking about these things, I don't need or want to hear anyone go, poor you. You don't have to go, oh, you achieved it because of that. So what? Lots of people have achieved a lot of things with a lot against them. My whole point is that, listen, no matter what you have to deal with, recognize it, hit it head on, and don't let it change what you want to achieve. I have a friend who lost her lower leg. She does long drive competition. She's a power lifter. She's a strong woman. She's a truck driver. Like, this girl just keeps going no matter what. But you can't go, hey, I'm going to squat like everyone else, when you have to consider the prosthesis you wear. And if you consider the prosthesis you wear, it's not making excuses. It's going, this is what I need to work around. This is what I got to figure out. You know, and it's the same thing. Well, I don't have the genetics. Okay, so what? Then figure it out. Well, I don't have the coach they have. Okay, so what? Figure it out. Like, but if you go, man, I don't have the coach that they have, and I don't have access to the drugs that they have, but I'm going to figure out a way to get past that. Then you're just going, here's what I have to deal with. You know, right now I'm not going, oh my God, I don't have millions of dollars. I can't build what I truly want. I'm going, okay, here's what I have. I can do better. I can get this thing built that I really want. I just got to figure out how to make it happen. And I got to know that here's what I have to work with. How do I do the best I can with what I have to work with? And I really want people to understand that. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for everything I have. I'm grateful for who I've become. I'm grateful for every good and bad thing that's happened to me in my life because I've learned from all of it. And that makes me who I am today. I'm not complaining about anything. I'm looking up, I wrote down a couple things I wanted to talk about here. So one of them is setting goals, which I kind of talked about. Setting goals is an interesting thing, and it's not just as easy as, hey, I'm going to set some goals. I think you really have to set a long-term goal, a midterm goal, and a short-term goal. And all of these are subject to change because we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen or what's going to go going on. Basically, your long-term goal is like, okay, this is what I want, so now I need to figure out how to get there. And then your shorter goals are going to get you there. So when I was powerlifting, yes, I wanted my long-term goal. I wanted to be the all-time total. I wanted to break the all-time total. That was my goal. That's the goal when I was having a hard day. I would go into daydream mode and I would picture myself hitting that goal and imagine how it felt. And that's what got me through the hard days. And that goal never changed. Then I had my midterm goals. Like, okay, by this time I want to have this total, or I want to win this nationals, or I want to be competing on this level. Then I had my short-term goals. My short-term goals are the ones that actually change the most because you're always looking at what you need to do and you're always looking at what you need to change. So what my weak point is today might not be my weak point 2 weeks from now. So at that point, it's like, okay, hey, my triceps need to get stronger. So right now, my short-term goal is to get my triceps stronger. So my bench goes up. Then once that happens, you're like, okay, my goal is no longer my triceps because now my triceps are my strongest part of my bench. So they're going to be modified all the time, but it's the long-term goal that's the one that's going to get you through the hard times. That's the one you're going to focus on. That's the one that's going to keep you hungry and alive and fighting for it. Then the midterm goals might change a little bit. Your short-term goals are going to change all the time, but they're based on what you're doing and how you're going to do it. So right now it's like, okay, we got the land. What do we want to do now? Let's get the plans done. Let's go ahead and start the well, and then when the well's done, it'd be like, okay, now let's move on. Let's get the septic in and and you're going down the list. And I have a list of all the things I want to do, which is my long-term goal to get them done. But I got to kind of take one at a time and see how it goes and see where I'm at to move on to the next one. Because if you're trying to think about everything all at once, it gets really hard to stay up and keep everything in order. So I find if I break them down and get smaller, I tell people one of my standard long-term, short-term goals was just keep getting better. If you put up a bigger total at every meet you do, you will eventually get where you want to be. And so that was one goal that was always there. Just keep beating myself. If I keep beating myself, I'm going to get where I want to be. My phone keeps shutting off. Now, one of the other things that happened or is happening recently is politics. Politics drive me nuts. But in this country, we have this huge polarization. And this is probably going to be off topic, but it does have to do with lifting. Because as I was thinking about this polarization and thinking what's going on with this election and watching all these different videos of either side, I thought, wow, this is a lot like fitness and strength and that whole industry. People are so polarized and they get so set on one thing that's all they want to hear. And I'm not sure that people understand how technology and social media works these days. Because one of the terms research, I hear people say, I did my research. Well, what do you consider research? You opened up the search engine that you always look at and you punched it in and you went, yep, right there, it tells me that's right, I'm right. Like, or did you actually delve into, well, wait a minute. Okay, you said this, but where's the actual study? And can I read the study and interpret it? You know, because people will interpret things however they want. And one of the things about search engines is a search engine, the internet is money driven. It's about making money, just like most things in this world. And it's designed to make more money. And they do that by keeping you on the internet longer. And the longer that they keep you on the internet, the more views and likes and all that stuff that they have, the more they can charge for advertisement, the more a search engine can go, hey, if you sign up with us, we're going to make sure we put you at the top of the list when anybody looks this up. So it's not about what, you don't punch something in there and it gives you the most relevant information. It keeps track of what you're looking up. And it's going to try to give you what's going to keep you online longest. And that's not going to be telling you what you don't want to hear. It's telling you what you want to hear. Most people are going to read an article that tells them what they want to hear, as opposed to one that's going to tell them what they don't want to hear. So, and I used to think that if I punched in bench press in a search engine, I would get the same thing everyone else got. And I know people now, they're like, hey, did you see that post on Instagram? And I'm like, what? Why would I see that post on Instagram? They're like, well, it was on my Instagram. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, everybody, you look stuff up, you're going to get your individual responses because it wants to keep you online. So if I look up bench press, I'm going to get a whole lot different stuff than everyone else. And if I look up abortion, my phone's been listening and recording everything I said. It's going to feed me the shit that it thinks I want to hear. It's not going to feed me the most relevant and truthful information. And I found that the political and the fitness end of this is very similar. And people are like, I looked it up. I saw the research. And I'm like, but did you actually look at the study? Because really the study's not really all that conclusive if you really look it up. Or, yeah, maybe the study did kind of prove that this worked, but it was like a 2% increase. Like, so there's a lot of things you could do that would give you a better increase. Or, so you have these people that are like, steroids are great, steroids suck. You have these people, linear periodization is the only way to train. And people are like, conjugate's awesome, conjugate sucks. And everybody's so polarized that I think it's just messing everything up. And I want to get back to the point where people actually do research and actually use their own brains and their own minds. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about old strongman. And there was, who was it? Louis Cyr? It was one of the old guys. And he's like, yeah, he came up with his own protein and he was doing this and that, but he wasn't very good at business. And I'm like, he's like, man, it's really great that the guy did that. And I go, well, I don't know. Seems smart, but whatever. And so we got to talking about this. And I often get people that go, oh, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. So-and-so said this. And I'm like, all right, man, I don't have time to read that book, man. But then I might read it and I'm like, okay, that's shit I already thought of. Like, the guy's just saying what I already thought of. Why do I need somebody to reinforce what I've already decided? And so I go back and I'm like, dude, Marcus Aurelius, Plato, Seneca. Like, you go back to all these philosophers and you go, at some point, one of them philosophers just came up with what he thought. He thought about it on his own. Then at some point, those guys started sitting around and talking, and they would discuss concepts and ideas, and then they would write a book. But there was a point where guys didn't read books to regurgitate information. They just sat and thought about it. And I think we need to get back to that place. I'm not saying don't read anything and don't pay attention to anybody. Like, hey, if there's good information out there, try to take it in. But like, go find some information and then sit and contemplate it. Can you make it better? Can you change it? Can you adjust it? Like, if somebody had the power to come up with this shit, so do you. So like, just because Marcus Aurelius said it doesn't mean I couldn't have thought about it on my own. Doesn't mean I didn't think about some of it on my own. And I think that's the missing key, is that now we just want to be told what to think instead of thinking about what we're reading, thinking about what we're learning. Just because some teacher, I had a lot of people telling me what to do when it came to lifting. And you know when I really started getting smart, when I really started getting strong, was when I stopped listening to everyone around me. And I started going, you know what? I need to listen to the best of the best, and I need to listen to myself. That's when I really started to get strong. And never mind that I'm doing everything different than everyone in the gym I'm at. I stopped worrying about that. And you know what happened? Me and my team kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger than everyone around us. Because we weren't stuck in that trap of what everyone else is saying. And this is happening in politics right now. We're like, I'm this, so anything on that side's wrong. Or I believe in this in the fitness industry, so everything else is wrong. Like, those guys wear gear. Those guys are on steroids. Those guys don't wear gear. Those guys wear knee wraps. Those guys wear wrist wraps. Those guys wear sleeves. Like, who gives a shit? Just because they wear something different doesn't mean you can't learn from them. And doesn't mean you need to worry about what they're doing anyway. Like, you're not even competing against them, so who gives a shit? Like, focus on yourself. Learn yourself. Do what you can do. Don't get caught in a trap of what everyone else is doing and just doing that. Like, use your mind. If you do go talk to somebody, go, hey, this is a world-class athlete, I'm going to listen to what they say. And then take it in. Give it the thought and the respect it deserves. But it doesn't mean that just because it worked for them, it's going to work for you. So take it in and think about it yourself and go, wait a minute, is this going to work for me? Okay, I'm going to try it because of the level that this person is. But then I have to actually analyze if it's working or not. And whether it works or not, maybe it doesn't work, but maybe it's because I need to do a little tweak to it. I've learned a lot of things from some really great athletes, went to try it, and I'm like, man, it doesn't work, but you know what? Just the source that this came from, there's probably something to it. So let me back up and consider this for a while. And then I'll think about it and I'll put a little tweak on it and bam, it starts working. And some of those times I'll go back and talk to that person and like, well, yeah, I didn't tell you to do that part too. And I'm like, no. But okay, now it makes sense. Now it's working. So that's where you got to have the confidence in yourself that you can think about this stuff. And I'm not saying don't give people the respect that they have. I'm just saying have the same respect for yourself. Okay, Marcus Aurelius was a super intelligent person. He had a huge impact. We're still talking about him all these years later. He's a great guy. Well, so what? So am I. Maybe I haven't achieved what he's achieved, but I would like to think that if Marcus Aurelius traveled through time and came in here, me and him could sit down and have a pretty intelligent conversation. So basically what I'm saying is like, if you're going to, you can put people on a pedestal, but put yourself on one too. Everybody's special in some way or another. So don't even look at people as better or worse. Like, we're all just people. So if somebody else can do it, there's no reason you can't do it. Like, treat yourself as good as you treat everyone else. I know I'm jumping around a little bit tonight, but I kind of already talked about my other point. My other point was like I want to do these things. I want to do this podcast. I want to do all this stuff to help people. Yes, I want to make a nice living, and it would be nice if I could. Well, I am making my living doing this now, but it would be nice to expand it more, and I would like to reach more people. I would like to have a podcast that covers not just lifting, but everything about life, about mental toughness, about perseverance, about resilience. And I'm talking through your relationships, through your business, just in general, the success of life and living. And that's one of the reasons I'm making this move is it's like, okay, this will allow me a little more time to do this. It'll allow me better facilities to work at. It'll allow me a facility where everything stays set up and I know where everything's at. I have a little more family to where I'm moving to. Maybe I can get some more help with this stuff and grow this thing. And I mean, that's what life's about. Life's about finding challenges and putting yourself out there and going, hey, I don't know this. I don't have any idea how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to challenge myself. And I'm going to put myself out there in places where I'm very uncomfortable and I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And I probably have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I'm just going to go out and I'm going to do it. And in doing it, I'm going to get better at it. And as I get better at it, I'm going to draw more people around me. If I put out the positive vibe, if I'm out there trying and out there growing it, then you're going to pull those people around you. It was amazing when I started powerlifting, the kind of the people that came and went. And now being away from that part of it, I look back and go, damn, that's kind of cool. Because I drew in the good people and the good people stayed with me through it. And they're still friends of mine to this day. Even though life gets in the way and we may not see each other as much as we do, I could call any one of them and they could call me. And it would be right like it was. And so that's, even though that we've moved on to different things in our lives and we're doing different skills and we're learning new things, you still have that connection with them, but then you're pulling more people in these different areas. And you could really, the energy that you put out is going to impact the people that are around you. It's going to impact the life that you're building. And if you're just going to sit on your butt and you're not going to do anything, or you're just going to do your 9 to 5 and hang out at the bar, you can't expect to have great people around you. You know, you can't expect to have other people that are going to push you and hold you to a higher limit. People that are going to help you achieve more and that you're going to help them achieve more. Like, you have to lead by example, and that's going to draw the right people into you. And that's why we should always be putting ourselves out there. We should always be finding something that makes us uncomfortable, finding a new hobby, finding something that you've never really done and learning a new skill. And then meeting new people. And then challenging yourself with that. For somebody like me who's deathly shy, meeting new people is not the easiest thing in the world. But the more you push yourself to do it, the better your skill gets at it. The better you become at talking to people and expressing yourself. And controlling your nervousness so that you don't say completely stupid shit. But it's all about pushing and challenging yourself. And we need to do that. We need to do that to grow. It's not about making a comfortable life. It's about making yourself stronger so that the hard things are way more easy. And I think that was horrible English, but you probably get my point. If you make yourself so resilient that what used to crush you, now you get through with, that wasn't so bad. That's the goal. Sure, you can work on making your life more comfortable while you're doing that. But no matter what you do, things are going to happen. I have clients back on the East Coast. And one of them, basically, I think he got to train maybe once this last week because he has no power. And he has a well, which means he has no water. And he's got to drive all this way to get to a gas station that has gas to run his generators. And you can't predict that kind of stuff. Man, shit's going to happen. You know, and you can prep and prepare as much as you can, but sometimes stuff's going to happen. But if you're resilient, you'll get through that without too much damage. And I told him, I go, hey, so you missed a couple training sessions. you can't wear your CPAP because you got no electricity. So your sleep's not good. You're stressed about all this other stuff because you have kids and a family and animals, and you got to take care of all them. You know, it's not the end of the world. This is we're going to deal with this and work through this and be just fine because we know how. And that's building that resilience to see things that come up and be able to deal with them without it being the end of the world or major destruction. And speaking of that, even not posting in a couple weeks, it's hard to kind of push yourself to get back on and get going again. In that first podcast, which is this first podcast back, it's like, man, I had these ideas this morning and I go, just do it. Today's the day. You have the time. Things are kind of calming down. Just do it. Here's 4 topics. Go. Explain the situation. Talk about this stuff. Get it out there. Just fucking do it. And so that's basically what this podcast is. I do have one that's loaded up in the barrel with Brian Mann, who is like a master of VBT training. And that's a great podcast. I'll get that one edited and up soon. But I just wanted to get something out there, get something back in there, let you guys know what's going on. I am still doing this. I have the goal. I want to hit 100 podcasts. And I think I'm about 25 away from that. And then I want to start getting deeper into it. And I'm trying to change the intro a little bit. I have a really cool dude helping me kind of edit that down and make it a little shorter. So we're still working on this. The plan is to get the new place. I got some other exciting things going on and just keep growing it. But it, you know, with life the way it is, it's like strength. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to just keep chugging away. Keep hoping that your listeners like what you're doing. Keep hoping that you're getting better. Hope that your listeners share it with other people. And I want it to just organically grow and get bigger and reach more people and actually have an impact in this world. So that's it. I'm out.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.